Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Can't Stop Snapping, the official podcast of MarvelSnapZone.com. A couple of things before we jump into today's episode. We didn't have quite enough time to cover something that came up this last week, and so I just wanted to make sure that I brought it up here in the intro, and that is we've been given a preview of some of the new cards that will be added to Series 5 later this month and through the end of the year. And so I just really quickly wanted to break down those, give some initial thoughts on those cards that are coming between now, the week of December 7th, through the end of the year. The first card is Null. Null is a 6-cost, 0-power card with the ability that reads Ongoing. Has the combined power of all cards destroyed this game. So another card that fits into the Destroy archetype, kind of a card you can lay down at the end of the game and hopefully have a bunch of power on a location. This card is being released on December 13th, so next week. I think this is an interesting card. I think it has the potential to be really big, but I think something we've seen is that cards that can give a lot of power spread on the board maybe have some more versatility than cards that can just have a lot of power on one location. I'm sure things, can still be done with this card. You could play it early and then you could play Taskmaster on it. You could use it in a Mr. Negative deck maybe somehow with it being a 0-power card. There's a lot going on here. It'll be interesting to see how people use Null as a card next week. The week after that, the week of December 20th, we are actually getting 2 cards, and this is because we are not getting one kind of that last week between Christmas and New Year, so the team can have a little bit of a break. So the first card we're getting on December 20th is Sentry. Sentry is a 4-cost, 8-power card that has the ability that reads, cannot be played at the right location. On reveal, add a -8 power the void to the right location. So this is interesting. We've seen kind of this can only be played at certain locations with things like Giganto, however you want to pronounce it. So this kind of falls into that mechanic. This being the opposite, you can't play it at the right location. So you have to play it either at the left or the middle, and it has a fairly good stat line at 8 power, but you do get that -8 power void that fills your location, goes into your location on the right side of the board. So ideally, you're either doing something like you're filling that location before you play Sentry so that you don't get the negative effect. I mean, you could potentially use Viper to send the void across the board, right? Maybe there's a turn 6 play where you play Sentry and you play Viper on the same turn and you send void across the board. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that can be done with Sentry. It doesn't seem like the strongest card initially, just at first glance, but time will tell how people use this card. And then last but not least, the last card we're getting this year in December is Darkhawk. Darkhawk is a 4-cost, 1-power card with the ability that reads Ongoing, +2 power for each card in your opponent's deck. So we've seen this ongoing ability, +2 power with things like Devil Dinosaur and Ronin. This, though, instead of playing off of what's in your hand or your opponent's hand, it plays off of the cards in your opponent's deck. So in a normal game where there's no extra cards drawn at the end of the game, there are 3 cards left in your opponent's deck, which means this would become a 4/7, 4-cost, 7-power card. But this does enable things a little bit more like Rock Slide and Korg, where you are putting extra cards into your opponent's deck. So that those can act as an additional buff for Darkhawk. So Darkhawk, I think, is interesting, has some utility. It kind of opens up maybe a new playstyle where you're trying to fill your opponent's deck, and maybe we'll see Rock Slide see a little bit more play. But I think these are some interesting cards. Again, all of these will be entering Pool 5, so they will all come in with the cost of 6,000 collector's tokens. We do talk collector's tokens in this episode and kind of our thoughts on the system as it stands after using it for a week. So make sure to listen to the rest of the episode to hear those thoughts. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Can't Stop Snapping, the official podcast of MarvelSnapZone.com. Today we have a conversation about a few things. We want to talk the new season pass in Marvel Snap with the Silver Surfer. We want to talk our thoughts now that we've had about a week to play around with the token shop mechanics, the new cards with the Series 4 and the Series 5 cards, and just kind of share our impressions and thoughts about where Marvel Snap is after some of these big updates, new season, etc., where we stand in the month of December. Today, I'm actually joined by two guests, which is not always the case. I am joined by two first-time guests, both Captain Moron and Vin Kelsier. Guys, thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, really appreciate you both being willing to jump on. As always, before we jump in, I just want to give you both a second just to kind of introduce yourself to the listeners, how you got into Marvel Snap, why you decided to start making content in the ways that you guys are making content, and then we will jump into the conversation. Captain Moron, I'll turn it over to you first.
Sweet, yeah. So my story of Snap is Can't Stop Snapping story of Snap is literally this podcast that got me into Marvel Snap. I don't have a history in card games, although I love games. And found this podcast, started listening to it, and it got me so pumped for the game, and then was able to start playing in the beta. And so now I've been playing for 4 months and absolutely love it. Play every day.
Awesome. And Vin Kelsier.
So I got in the first day of the closed beta back in, April, May. I've been a gamer for a very long time in various places. I won't go too far into that, but I've gotten Infinite every season in Marvel Snap. I've been a person kind of at the top, I'll say, of meta development throughout beta, though now there's so many people, who knows. I'm the main writer for, I guess, a competitor, being Snap.fan. So all the articles that are, not all, most of the articles that are front page I've written. And I started a Discord that really has taken off throughout the months, where a lot of the honestly top meta decks have been theory crafted by myself and a handful of other similar thinking people that enjoy the math behind the game. So there you have it.
Well, glad to have you both on. Two different backgrounds we're bringing here to bring into the conversation, so excited for that. First things first, let's talk Season Pass, new card, new reward structure, and I do want to start with the reward structure there before we jump into talking Silver Surfer. So I've kind of pulled up a comparison of the Wakanda Forever or the Warriors of Wakanda Season Pass from last month and the Silver Surfer season this month. And wanted to get your guys' thoughts on some of the changes. So starting off on the ranked rewards, the biggest change here is that, they've shifted around the order of some of the things that you can earn at different ranks. You earn a reward every 10 ranks on the ladder. But they have replaced a card back and a mystery variant with 2 titles that you can unlock now in the Season Pass. And one of those titles is the reward for the Infinite rank. That we've seen them play around with different rewards in the ranked seasons over the course of the beta and now the release of the game. So I want to just hear, do you guys think this is a positive change? Do you like seeing these titles as rewards more than seeing a mystery variant in a card back, or did you prefer the old structure? Vin Kelsier, I will hear your thoughts first.
So they're going to be negative thoughts to begin with. I currently have 9 titles unlocked, and I can only have one at a time. Getting more titles just has almost no value. I think one at Infinite is fine, but having 2 there is awkward. I'd love for them to at least add a way where I could attach a title to a deck and then I could go through them kind of like card backs or something. But as the game stands right now, I hate the fact that they're just throwing more titles. It just seems meh to me.
Yeah, maybe it's watering down other things you could be getting out of caches, reserves, rewards, etc., right?
Yeah, but I even like card backs. Like, I go look at my decks and I identify which deck is which based on different card backs. So I was happy to get different card backs. But I have to go in and to my avatar menu and go to the title and change my title, and I don't know. Yeah, I was happy when I got one I liked, but just getting more than does nothing in my mind.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with you. Captain Moron, interested to hear. Do you agree, disagree, have different thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a title junkie, but I was just quickly reviewing Vin Kelsier. I have 9 titles as well, and I have 10 card backs, and that's from playing way more time with available card backs than with titles, right? So I think you're right. I think we're getting pretty heavy on the titles, and so it feels a little bad to have just like more titles, throw more titles at you, where the card backs are a little more unique. And like you said, you can use them, you can assign them to each deck. I think that idea with the titles with each deck would be sweet.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you could do that. And you have 10 like unique or past the base card backs, because you start with what, like 7?
I know. I haven't gotten many. I know.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that that's 10 total when you started, I believe, with 7, and then the first rank season you go up to 8.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and again, I like having that. They have some meaning. Like, I don't know. I enjoy the card backs and titles. I just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they're obviously still playing around with this. I think they've shown that they're willing to iterate, right, on reward structures. I hope they continue to iterate a little bit on this one. I think it's interesting to have a title as the highest one. That's the thing you can kind of show off that you made it to infinite rank, right, in the season. That's typically been a card back until now. But I think the card back kind of stands out and has more utility than the title, like we've already said. But we'll see. We'll see how they continue to iterate on this. Shifting from there to the season pass rewards, okay? We've seen a couple of changes here as well, and want to see if you guys feel similarly different. I may not be getting this exactly right, but so they've added a card back into the season pass rewards, which there's 2 now where there was previously 1. So kind of that card back we lost from the ranked rewards is now in the season pass rewards. And then we have also added 2 additional variants that you unlock, 2 additional mystery variants you unlock as part of the season pass. And then they've added 3 titles that you can unlock as part of the season pass. So I think that's mostly shifting around. You're getting a couple less boosters here and there and things like that to squeeze in some of these extra rewards. I personally feel pretty positive about this. I love getting more variants. Do you guys agree, disagree? Captain Moran, will go to you first this time.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Also, these titles they're pretty great. Like, that's No Moon. I mean, that's just beautiful. But yeah, I like it a lot. And variants are always a positive. I mean, traded variants for boosters, and I don't know who doesn't like that. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Are you sure on there being more variants? Because that's not what I am seeing.
So I'm seeing. Oh, maybe this one's duplicated. Now, so I see. I'm looking at a breakdown that somebody put together, and it just says 7 total variants. So we've got mystery variant at level 7. That's 1. We've got collector variant at level 12.
There were 7 before, so that should be the same.
Oh, okay.
Like the 3 for the 3 characters. There used to be 2 free and 2 paid, and I'm currently seeing that there are 3 paid, and the one I unlocked, I don't know if that was free or paid. Might be there's 2 more in the paid track and 2 less in the free track.
I think that's where I'm getting confused. I think you're right. I think it looks like they put all of those behind the paywall this time around, and they put one of the titles in the free side.
Yeah, meanwhile we're getting 2 titles. I'm not gonna beat the dead horse here, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm okay with them moving the mystery variants to the paid because I want to support them, right? And I think the $10 or whatever per month is quite reasonable for the season pass. So I'm okay with that being a little more of a, hey, if you buy this, you get more value versus not. But yeah, I believe the total variance if you're paying is the same.
Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. I like you. I agree that I think the $10 is worth it, and I think that's probably one of the things that's most incentivizing to people is to get additional variants, right? At a better rate than just buying them with like if you were to spend cash to buy gold and then use gold to buy variants in your variant shop, right? You're not getting them as good of a per dollar rate as you are in the season pass, right?
But you're getting ones you like for sure.
That is true. They are random, and there's definitely been times where I've opened, a pixel variant for a card I never play or something, and it's like, well, that feels a little bad. But I have gotten some of my favorite ones from the season pass. So, it's always gonna be a little hit and miss. Every mobile game's gonna have that variability to keep us coming back, right? Yeah. So turning to the kind of main focus of this season pass is Silver Surfer. So for those listening who may not know yet, I assume most of you do, but Silver Surfer is a 3-cost, 0-power card with the ability that reads, on reveal, give your other 3-cost cards plus 3 power. I think this happens every season, beginning of the month, new card, ton of people are playing it. Have you guys both seen a lot of people playing Silver Surfer decks? Do you feel like it's comparable to like when Black Panther came out where everybody was playing it, or do you guys not see it? You see as much play right now?
So I'm seeing a good amount of it. I was going out of town right when the Black Panther season started. I know a lot of people played it. My take on Black Panther was he was not actually a very good card, and I think Silver Surfer is a great card. And I think as the season went on, a lot of the people that I talked to came around to where I'm at. There's a few that still like him, and he still has some potential for Black Panther, but the whole Wong thing is very telegraphed, and Cosmo's everywhere, right? And I think Silver Surfer is better and has more staying power than Panther did, but I'm seeing a good amount of it, and also in a bunch of different decks. I think that Silver Surfer has a lot more ability to fit into more decks that are not looking the same, whereas I think Black Panther, you pretty much saw the whole Black Panther Wong Zola thing over and over again, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I have some thoughts, but I'll turn it to you, Captain Moron, first before I share mine.
Yeah, I think I will say I think Black Panther is a pretty dang good card. I get pretty annoyed when it happens to me, and somehow maybe I'm just blind and I don't see it coming. But you're right. I think it is a little more. It's a lot more narrow, the lanes that you can play it, right? I mean, you're gonna play with Wong, or you're gonna play with Arnim Zola, and Silver Surfer can go anywhere. But I don't know. I'm not seeing the Silver Surfer appeal. Like, I guess I don't see it as like an A-tier card. Like, I don't think I could take a Silver Surfer and build just a Silver Surfer deck and really have it be top tier. I think it could be decent, but I don't know about like really good.
Interesting. So kind of a differing of opinions here, which is always great to have, like some confrontation. But I'll share my thoughts. I have seen a decent amount of play with Silver Surfer. Not saying because it's better or worse, but I feel like I saw more Black Panther play. Exactly the combo you guys are talking about, right? Once everybody kind of figured that out in the first day or two last month, that was what everybody was doing, it seemed like. It saw some overplay, and that definitely, faded away at the end of that week, beginning of the second week of last season. And Silver Surfer, I see less play, but I tend to agree more with you, Vin Kelsier. I think the surprise factor, Silver Surfer being able to kind of come out at the end of the game and add a bunch of stats, and a card that can add a bunch of stats spread out on the board, I think has more utility than a card that can add a bunch of stats in one or two lanes, right? Because if you don't draw Arnim Zola and you're limited to keeping Black Panther in one lane, for example, right? It's like you can get him really big potentially in one lane, but that only wins you one lane. Where Silver Surfer, I think, has the ability to kind of come out that last turn and potentially shift the tides of the game. I've been playing with a couple of decks with Silver Surfer, one of them being a Mr. Negative deck, and having Sarah. So if you flip Mr. Negative ideally earlier in the game, like on turn 3 after playing Psylocke, and then you get Sarah down on 5. I can usually have a pretty crazy turn 6 where I get out Silver Surfer with an Absorbing Man to repeat the effect and probably another 3-drop card before I place both of those. And I've got my Brood out on the board, right? So all of a sudden I'm loading, 30 power or more on the board on the 6th turn, right? Spread out across all the lanes. So that's kind of my take. I feel like there's a lot of versatility. I feel like there's still probably some theory crafting and adjustments to be made. Vin Kelsey, I'd be curious to hear, has your experience kind of been similar to what I'm saying? I'd love for you to expand on some of your thoughts there.
Yeah, so I cannot play what I consider to be the best deck in the game right now because I guess the future topic that we're going to go into on this store has not been kind to me. But I think that a Silver Surfer deck I think that honestly, like 3 different Silver Surfer builds are probably the 3 best decks right now. And I think there's so much power there, and it's harder to counter. I mean, like Arrow is something that a lot of people complained about, and the whole Black Panther deck was countered by Arrow, countered by Cosmo, because it was very telegraphed. And Surfer, again, can go anywhere. 0 power, literally. Like, we're not playing him because of we care where he goes. We just want him to get his on reveal off, and he can be anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's quite strong. Negative is obviously a great kind of synergy there, because suddenly him being a 0/3 is way better. I'm not a fan of Absorbing Man, but hey, if it works, it works. So
yeah, I think there are some mixed thoughts on Absorbing Man. I think it's worked relatively well for me. It may not be the most ideal, but I think in the situations where I've been able to pull both of them off, in the last turn of the game, definitely can shift the tide sometimes.
Yeah, and Sarah's super strong, right? Like, we know that, and 3 mana cards play far better with Sarah than 5 mana cards do.
Yeah, very true. Well, let's shift our conversation that direction where you were kind of taking us, Vin Kels, here. So obviously, new season pass, everybody's trying out the new season pass card, et cetera, et cetera. That's normal, and we have that kind of on the month-to-month basis. But also, the week right before the new season pass started, we got this new system, which is collector's tokens, the token shop. Just to refresh those who are listening or tuning in for the first time. Basically, the token shop is a system that will rotate cards through on an 8-hour basis. It shows up on your shop page, and it can be cards from Pool 3, Pool 4, and Pool 5. Until a week ago, we only had Pools 1, 2, and 3. And most people that have been playing since release or in the beta are in Pool 3 at this point. They're unlocking cards, and this is just an additional feature in the game that allows you to specifically target certain cards. So it is random what card will rotate through your shop, but every 8 hours it changes. If you have a Pool 3 card, it's 1,000 tokens. If you have a Pool 4 card, it's 3,000 tokens, and a Pool 5 card is 6,000 tokens. So, a lot of people who've been playing since the very beginning of the beta, like me and Vin Kels here, have already completed Pool 3. Captain Moron, I know you're deep in Pool 3, but you're not quite there at the end. And there's no essentially pity timer, or that's not the right word. There's no, like, if a certain card has come through your shop, it won't come through until it's rotated through all the other cards. The same card can come over and over again, and I've seen several streamers running into that. And is that similar to kind of what you've been having happen, Vin Kels, here? Hey all, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you about MarvelSnapZone.com. Marvel Snap Zone is a one-stop shop for everything Marvel Snap on the internet. They have new articles nearly every day that cover deck building, strategy, card breakdowns, etc. They have a great collection tracker tool and a deck list builder that works off of that collection tracker so that you can know what decks you can build with your current card collection. They have guides and deck lists for all level of players and all collection level of players. Make sure to go to marvelsnapzone.com and check it out now.
So there's supposed to be four separate rotations depending what you have available, right? You're supposed to go through all the pool 4 before you get a repeat of a pool 4. There's apparently people who have reported a bug with that. But the pool 4 rotation is separate from the pool 5 rotation, is separate from the Supreme Variant rotation, which is separate from the pool 3 rotation. And so I care about precisely one card in pool 5. I've gone through all of pool 4. As you said, I don't have any pool 3, and I just haven't gotten lucky with the one pool 5 I want. And honestly, right now, I would rather go back to the we don't have agency system, because I accepted that I had no agency, and now I'm being told I have agency, and over a week later, I still cannot get the card I want, and the new season started, and I really wanted to go into the new season with that new card, and it just feels like a slap in the face. So I don't know. I don't know. That said, Steven, who works for Second Dinner, he said that they're working for a solution, I think earlier today.
Yep.
We know the rotation spread could be better, but ran out of time to fix it for initial release. So I don't know. I think there's significant problems with the system the way it is now, and that said, I have faith in them. You know, after the Nexus fiasco, they worked with the community. They worked with all of us, and they didn't sit there and stick to their guns and refuse to give in at all. So I assume they're going to fix stuff.
Yeah. Would love to hear your thoughts really quick, Captain Moran, before I share mine.
Yeah, no, well, Vin Kelser, I really want to know what that card is you want in Series 5.
Well, let's finish this, and then we can go as your next topic, okay?
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I definitely see that, but I agree, like, if there's anything we've seen from Second Dinner, they're willing to iterate, they're willing to change. That was pre-global launch, and that stays the same now. So I think that's really good. It's been more favorable to me, so I mean, it's easy for me to speak positively about it. But I like the excitement of just like a new card in there, and there are more that I want to. I'm not exactly like honed in on any particular one, so it's just kind of exciting. And then I like the idea of agency, and I was indifferent beforehand. I was like, I'm fine not having choice. So having choice, it's relatively the same to me. I think it's just another cool feature that helps more people enjoy the game.
Yeah. Just want to add to one thing, Vin Kelser, you said. I think there is a bug because I was watching Jeff Hoagland stream, I think yesterday. And in the morning, he had M'Baku. And then in the evening, he had M'Baku again. And that's happened to him a couple of times. I think he's had M'Baku like 4 times.
But I think he's bought a lot of pool 4 cards, and it doesn't necessarily go back to the start. Like, it goes 1 through 10, and then it randomizes, and it can go 10 again. Like, you can get 2 in a row for sure, but it's not supposed to be able to go 1 through 9 and then give V1 before you get 10.
Yeah. But I've seen some frustration there online, and like what you both have said, I think Second Dinner will address it, and I think they'll make this system a little bit better, a little bit more clean, so that you're only having to wait so long before it does cycle through your shop and you get the one you want, which I think is kind of the purpose of it. Before we jump into kind of talking about some of the cards specifically and the one you're hoping to get, Vin Kelsier, I do think it's worth mentioning, these cards in Pool 4 and 5 can be opened in reserves and caches. And it's a low chance. The Pool 4 cards are a 2.5% chance, I believe, and the Pool 5 cards are a 0.25% chance. Vin Kelsier, have you pulled any of them from just a reserve or a cache?
I have not. Now, I will, if I may clarify, that's the for the pool 4. That's the average you're going to get is 2.5%, but it's actually explicitly stated the way that, or they're claiming this at least, the way it's coded is that after 40 caches or within 40 caches, you're guaranteed to get precisely one pool 4, assuming you have one that you can still get.
Yep.
You cannot high roll pool 4s. You can get precisely one. Pool 5s are exactly as you said, of the 0.25%. So you could actually high roll pool 5s and go pool 5, pool 5, pool 5, like 3 in a row, absurdly low odds. But that can happen. But pool 4s are supposed to be exactly that, and I have not even gotten that. And I'm getting very close to the end of that 40 caches opened. And so that kind of feels pretty bad too.
Yeah. I know, Captain Moron, you opened Galactus in a cache.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
Which was, I mean, you told me about your reaction to that, and I think that was pretty crazy. Yesterday, I actually opened a pool 4, and then 2 caches later, I opened a pool 5 card. I opened Valkyrie. And so it does happen, and it definitely feels exciting, but then, like you say, Vinkels here, I mean, the pool 4, you're guaranteed every 40, right? So if you just kind of keep pushing along the collection level track, you will get those, and you'll open them up over time. But that pool 5, some people are opening them, some people are not, right? It really is just the luck of the draw, the random number generator. So definitely can feel bad to not be doing that when some people are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then when that's mixed with the shop being not what I wanted to show me, it's just not been, feels good at all for the past week for me. I'm curious though if we can talk about this sort of thing a little bit more. Captain said that you kind of like the system and whatnot, and the more time goes on, like the more I've started to dislike it for a multitude of reasons. Am I fine to kind of mention something related to that, or would you rather I don't do that here?
I'm totally fine. If you want to, yeah, you mentioned what you don't like about it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I've been playing since beta, right? And like you said, I have full pool 3, and at some point it's like cool to just, I got this card. What kind of stupid dumb things can I do with this? Even if it doesn't work, just have some fun playing it. And I feel that with the price of the cards, there's some pool 4 cards that I think would just be fun to play, but I don't really think they're very good. Mm-hmm. But man, I don't feel like I can spend tokens on them, because if there's a good card, I want to have tokens to buy it, right? And so my ability to just go play for fun, I feel, has gone down. And I didn't think that would happen, honestly. I didn't really realize when this was first announced how it would work. But that's what I felt like over the weekend into now is like, man, I want that card, but I'm not going to get tokens fast enough to be able to just buy things I want to play for fun. Like, I'm going to run out, and then I won't be able to get things that are good and fun later on anyway. And so, I don't know. I'm curious if you all feel the same. And then Captain mentioned that, again, you're excited to see the shop refresh. There's precisely one card I want to see in the shop, and everything else is literally the same rock bottom nothing to me, because I don't feel that I can just spend tokens for no reason. And so I don't have any highs in the shop there. I mean, I would be pretty happy if I got the one card I want, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to share my thoughts first there, if you don't mind. But I think you helped put into words something that I have been feeling, at least some of what you just described. I think at first, right, my first card in there was Absorbing Man, and of course I posted on Twitter to the followers of the podcast, should I get it? And some people said yes, some people said no, and I think it was just I had this FOMO, this fear of missing out, so I just bought it. Right, I'm like, okay, I have 12,000 credits, I'm gonna buy it. Now I have ended up using it, and so that's been good. But I think after I did have some buyer's remorse after, right? It was kind of like, man, like I really should be saving these credits for the best cards, the most important cards, right? I feel like I shouldn't spend them on ones that it's better just to wait for, right? So I was feeling that. Then I personally wanted Thanos. I know he's not necessarily great, I just wanted to be able to play around. So I did get Thanos in my shop. I bought Thanos. Great, right? Felt good about that. But then I think I definitely was feeling kind of that, like my fun level was going down a little bit, kind of like focusing so much on this. I was checking it every 8 hours. I was feeling a little more stressed, right? About like, well, is the next card going to be one I want, et cetera, et cetera. I think once I opened one up, just in a cache, when I opened Valkyrie, and it was like, whoa, right? I got a Series 5 card, a super low odds, and I wasn't necessarily like theory crafting with Valkyrie. It wasn't one that I probably would have bought if it showed up in my shop. But all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna go play with this right now. I'm gonna go see what I can build, right? And
exactly.
And it kind of brought back that fun level. And then now I have Silver Surfer, the season pass, right? So I feel like I'm kind of back to my more of my normal level of enjoyment. But I definitely felt some of what you described last week, where I think this new system kind of just wasn't bringing me the right vibes that normally Marvel Snap brings me. If that makes sense.
If I may clarify slightly, when I'm saying fun, like Thanos is a great example. I think it'd be really fun to just go build a Thanos deck, mess around with it, and see what I can do with it. But it's not that I'm not finding the game overall fun. It's that I feel that I cannot go enjoy Thanos because I am not paying 6,000 collector tokens for Thanos because I don't think he's good. It would just be to go mess around for a bit, when I'm infinite bored, to have some fun, and that is just too high of a price tag to do that. Galactus looks fun, but I don't like the card. I'm not going to pay 6,000 for it. Like, that's just where almost every card is lining up for me is, I'd love to go play with that, but, that's just like $100 if you wanted to buy it, and I'm not spending that to go mess around with the card for a couple days. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really curious if I could step in. I've kind of had this in the back of my mind. So like Michael mentioned, I'm still in Series 3. I don't have a ton of cards left, but that adds some excitement for me. There's a lot more cards that could be in the shop, and a lot of them are cheaper. Not that means I'd get them, but I've thought about, like, there are a lot of people who have a complete collection through Series 3. Do you think it would have been better to introduce this system earlier, or to have more cards that could go through the shop? I don't know. What do you think could improve it?
So right now in the Discord that I run, there's constant people coming in and saying, "Oh, should I buy Destroyer? Should I buy Doom? Should I buy Wong? Should I buy Sarah?" And if you want my honest opinion, if anyone is asking, should I buy X Pool 3 card, the answer is no. You're going to get those in a reasonable amount of time, period. And if you buy 3 of them, that's a significant amount off of what you might want that's significantly more expensive. Pool 3 cards come actually quite fast, comparatively. If you're going to buy a Pool 3 card, I think it should be someone's like, I really want to play with Sarah. Oh my gosh, Sarah decks look awesome. They see Sarah, they snap by, and they don't have to ask. I honestly believe that if someone has to ask, should I buy this Pool 3 card? My default answer is the fact you're asking means you're not sold on it, and you probably should just let it go because you get Pool 3 in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
So you're thinking it's like the drop rate that's too slow. So you're like, I gotta save it for just the card I want because the drop rate's so low. Like, when am I gonna get it?
Yes.
That's fair. I mean, one out of 400 odds for a Series 5 is pretty.
Yeah, and I did the math a while back at how long that's supposed to take, but like, if you're hoping to get a drop of a Series 5, or even just get enough tokens for a Series 5, you're looking at like one every 4 to 6 months or something like that. Like, it's absurd. If you save all your tokens for Series 4, you can get like a little over one a month, which is still quite slow. And meanwhile, your Pool 3 cards just come in like candy. I don't know.
Yeah. I think one missing piece to this equation, I love the conversation, love everything you guys are saying, and I agree with the thoughts. I'm interested to see once they start fill in, Pool 6 a little bit more, or sorry, Pool 5, and I don't know if Pool 4 is going to be any bigger than it currently is, which is 10 cards. But they have said, eventually they're going to be shuffling cards down. So cards from pool 5 will go to pool 4, cards from pool 4 to go to pool 3, which then we're unlocking them much faster, right? I think that is a missing piece to this puzzle. Eventually we'll understand that, and I think that'll, we'll revisit this conversation. I'm interested to see at what rate cards from pool 4 move to pool 3 and cards from pool 5 move to pool 4, because that may make some of this feel better that we're talking about, right? If it's like, okay, a card is only in pool 5 for 2 months or a month, and then it goes to pool 4 for a month or two, and then it's in pool 3, right? And things are shuffling through relatively quickly, right? With new cards being added every week, hopefully things are moving down every week eventually too, right? Like there's one new card into pool 5, and then one pool 5 card goes to pool 4, and then one pool 4 goes to pool 3. So then it's kind of like you're kind of most likely, if you've already finished your collection of pool 3, you're going to get that new pool 3 card in the next week, right? Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying, you guys? Like, if that were the case, I think that would feel a little bit better than what we're at right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we know that something like that's going to happen. I believe that they've said specifically that Season Pass card will be in pool 5 the month after, and then pool 4 the month after that. So it is just 1 month there. And I believe they said that their goal is eventually to have the rates be the same from 5 to 4 and 4 to 3, but that is after hitting the capacity limit for the 2 pools, which we don't know what it is, and kind of alluded to that. And that is an important thing when we want to sit there and do the math and whatnot. So, but you still might be 2 months, 3 months behind pool 5 coming out before it's in pool 3, and then you still have to wait to pull it. And that kind of just reiterates what I'm saying of, I just don't think you should buy a card unless it's a card you really want to play with. And if it is a card you really want to play with, I'm never going to argue with someone on that, right? Like, play what's fun. Go get the card that really resonates with you, that you think is awesome. But, there were questions about, should I just buy these pool 3 cards to finish pool 3? And that's just getting a bad rate. So if you're not going to play the cards, the answer is just no.
Yeah.
But I am curious to know what they're going to do, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for this part of the conversation. I love all the things that we've shared here. Going that step further, you've been kind of keeping us on the edge of our seats this whole time, Vin Kelsier. Talk about what is the card you want to unlock and why.
Bast. I think Bast is the best of the pool 5 cards. She is a 1/1 that on reveal set the power of everything in your hand to 3. That can lower things, that can raise things. I know there's already been a bunch of good decks that have been running her. We talked about Silver Surfer. Well, Silver Surfer is now a 3/3. And we can go through, but there's a lot of things that become, we'll say, semi-obvious. Iron Man becomes 3 power. Mr. Negative goes back to almost his pre-first nerf power. Even Brood just gaining 1 power is kind of gaining 3 power because all 3 of them gain that power. I think there's a ton of stuff you can do with Bast. And I think there's a lot of different decks that use Bast, and a lot of them use Silver Surfer too, that are just really interesting to me, really awesome. There's really cool ideas of, so if I have Bast and Angela in hand, should I play Bast on turn 1? Or should I just skip even Angela? Some people are saying Angela's not as good anymore because you can just draw an extra card and then play Bast on 2, and then suddenly, Angela's sitting there dead in your hand or something. So I don't know, but I want Bast so bad. And then past that, for this whole negative Silver Surfer deck, Bast and Negative work really well together, not just because Bast changes Negative back into a 4/3, but they hedge against each other. Negative is saying, if I drew these cards I want Negative inverted, and they're in my hand, then he's not going to hit them. Whereas Bast is saying, if they're in my hand and they're low power, I'm going to hit them. And so it kind of gives you these 2 avenues to a similar idea of, I just generated a ton of power from the single on reveal. And that overlap, I think, is really strong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for breaking that down. I've seen people, sharing their Bast decks and ideas on Twitter, and I definitely, I didn't fully understand the impact of Bast, a couple weeks ago when we first learned about the card. I guess I should say we kind of knew a lot of these cards have been data mined previously, right? But, once they had officially revealed it and people started talking about it more. But, I'd have to agree with you. I've seen a lot of crazy things that people have been putting together, and Bast does seem a very impactful card, right? Being a 1-drop, it's very versatile. All the other pool 5 cards are 4 cost or higher, right? They're kind of your end game cards and or they're tech cards, and so Bast seems to have a lot of versatility. And you've made me jump on the Bast train. So I think Bast is probably the card I'm going to target next. That being said, I have to build my credits back up at this point, and so it's going to be a little bit before I get there. So
yeah, K and Best tweeted my Bast negative serotonin deck, basically, that got nerfed to the ground, and I think it's back in it's not fully refined yet. Like, we haven't figured out what the best 12 cards are, but I think it's honestly better than the original serotonin because I think Bast is just that good. But anyway, he linked me on his tweet or whatever, and my Twitter's just been blowing up with people that have been retweeting and liking his tweet and everything. But I sold him on it, and he thinks the deck's powerful, and a lot of other people that I talked to. But there's still a lot of discussion. One of these is, do we cut Angela? And I hate if we cut Angela, but it might be right, and it's not like I can play to test it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
One other
you put me on the Bast train too.
Good. That's where we should be.
All aboard the Bast train. I'm looking here. I just I have all the cards up here as we've been discussing, and Bast has a Dan Hip variant that I'm seeing that just slaps. I mean, it's awesome. I want to get the card just so I can get the variant, basically. Yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead.
If I may share some science that I did that theoretically works with Bast, but I've only tested it with Mr. Negative. So let's say you have something like Death in your hand, and you decide to put Bast in a deck that runs Death. So people might be like, what? That's crazy. You just shrunk Death from 12 to 3 power, which sounds crazy. But see, if you play Luke Cage, somewhere between when you play Bast and Death, Death comes down with the full 12 power because Bast is lowering Death's power, and Luke Cage will undo that. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that is a really cool interaction.
I would have never guessed that, but that makes perfect sense now that you say it. There's a lot of versatility there. Luke Cage is another great interesting card that I think has a lot of interesting potential interactions like that.
Yeah, he's one I did buy at a pool 4, mostly to do science because I haven't actually played him in any real deck, but I think he's really good. But yeah.
Well, awesome. This has been a really fun conversation with both of you. Appreciate you. We are running up here on the end of the time we've got allotted to record this episode. But I hope listeners, you appreciate this conversation. I hope that you'll share some of your thoughts with us. As always, we ask you to go share those thoughts on Twitter at @can't_stop_snap. Let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with our thoughts on the token shop mechanics? What pool 4 and 5 cards are you excited about? Have you had good or bad luck with these cards, etc.? Would love to hear your thoughts there. Before we sign off today, though, love to give you both a chance just to give another shout out of where people can follow you, where they can find the content you're putting out, and how they can best support you as a creator. Then Kelsier, we'll turn it over to you first this time.
Yeah, sure. So again, I write for Snap.fan, so the articles there are mostly written by me. So go check those out. In almost every one of those articles, I link our community Discord, which I'm the one who made that, back before I even partnered with SnapFan. And so that's where some of the big theory crafting for Snap Meta has been throughout all of beta and is even more active now. We do all these sorts of testing things and trying to, break the featured locations that are going on, stuff like that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can, but I don't use it much, so it's just still Vin Kelsier. And I guess that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you again for being on.
Thank you for having me.
And Captain Moron, we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so best place to find me is probably YouTube, just Captain Moron. And on Twitch, I stream a few times a week as well. I am Captain Moron, twitch.tv/I am Captain Moron. I try to do unusual decks, something I've never seen before, which often means it looks a little moronic, but it's fun. It's exciting to test things out. Sometimes it works out. So
awesome. Thank you both for being on. Really appreciate it. And listeners, as always, thank you for listening. We will catch you in the next episode. Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast written, recorded, produced, and hosted by Michael Thurman. Thanks for listening.